Coming up on episode 165 of Creative Writing, I'm talking about whether or not you should promote your first nonfiction book.
I can't go back to sleep, it's almost light. These restless thoughts have kept me up again tonight.
Hello and welcome to Creative Writing. I'm your host, Kirsten Oliphant, and welcome to the show. This is the podcast for you, a writer, blogger, or creative who wants to build an online platform without being smarmy. And I realized right after recording episode 164, where I talk about whether you should promote the first book that you are putting out or the first in a series, that I meant to come back to nonfiction and totally didn't, because my brain has been in fiction land. But I'm also going to be putting out some nonfiction this year. Oh, when am I going to do that? It's going to happen. It's going to be magical. Unicorns are going to help me get that done. And little elves and leprechauns too. So that's going to happen. But it made me realize I totally missed out on that. And so that's a really different animal. And I wanted to put it in this episode. Now, if you're new, hi. This is not typical. During the summer, sometimes I take a break, sometimes I do something different. I'm doing these short episodes. I'm answering questions from people in the community. So join the community and you can ask me a question. You can go to creativewriting.com/community to get in there. It's a free Facebook group. Tag me on Twitter, Kiki Mojo, or just shoot me an email, kirsten@creativewriting.com. So the question that I'm answering, I answered in 164, was whether or not I thought you should promote a first book or first book in a series. And I really just hit on the fiction. I talked about the differences between whether you're going to promote it, whether it's a series of standalones, not a series at all, or a series you need to read in order. Short episodes, you can go listen to that after you get done here if you haven't already. But for nonfiction, it's really different. And I would say heartily, yes, promote that first book. Because at least in my experience, the more books you have that are nonfiction, kind of how-to books, I'm not talking memoir because I put that more in the creative space. But if we're talking like business books, how-to books, devotional books, those kinds of books, yeah, if you write one, people may read and have read through. They may go read your others after they like one. However, it tends to work more that way with fiction. So nonfiction, if they like one book, great, but they might not like your others if the topic is different, okay? Even if they like you as a writer. So it's really, you're kind of considering each its own entity. So I'm going to say yes, promote it. I'm also going to tell you a little bit about how I would recommend doing that and also some bonuses that you could do to make that content work for you. So I will say, in my experience, the nonfiction books I've done I never really wrote them to make a ton of money. One of the things that I did was to write books as sales funnels. So my book, Email Lists Made Easy, which I'm going to be revamping a bit this year. So many things have changed that just needs to be updated. But I'm also going to gear it more towards authors because when I started this podcast, that's really where I was hoping to settle, but I really wasn't living in author land. I was living in blogging, social media influencing land, even as an author and writer. And so I felt a little weird. I didn't quite feel at home yet in the author space. I wasn't ready to kind of own that. And I wasn't, my finger wasn't really on the pulse of the author community so much. But I'm finally kind of circled back around to where I originally wanted to start, which is for writers and authors. And yeah, I'm going to talk to you guys who have blogs. And yeah, I'm going to talk some about blogging, social media, because this podcast isn't about craft, right? We're not talking about how to create tension in a scene. I probably will never teach that because I feel like it's something that's more instinctive for me. And so even though I've taken courses, I've got a graduate degree in it, it's not something I'm going to teach. But I'm always going to talk about craft. And so writing books like Email Lists Made Easy was a part of gaining authority as someone who talks about email. And I actually traveled all over the country and spoke at conferences about email. I had a paid course all about email that I launched right when I launched Creative Writing that first year. And so books that are nonfiction are not just about making money, although you can, but they're great for building expertise. They're great for getting your name out there if you're doing other things and promoting other things. Are you a coach? You need to write a book. If you're someone who has a course, you need to write a book. If you're doing other content, write a book. If you want to get that authority, write a book. And that, I'm assuming you already have the authority, right? You're not making it up to write the book. Don't do that. That's what we'd call smarmy. It's kind of sleazy. Learn the things, and make sure you're able to actually teach them. Have you executed the things? Maybe don't write a nonfiction book on things you haven't executed and done well. So that's a little side note there. But the books there are not necessarily just about making money, but when you want to promote those books, yes, absolutely promote them. The same kinds of strategies, the paid promotions I talked about in episode 164 are still going to be good for you. And I think it was episode 142, maybe, where I talk about the different paid promotions that you can have. You're still going to want to do that. But one of the best ways that you can promote something like a nonfiction book is to do guest posts. And some people actually just take chapters or bits of their book and will put them in guest posts. I like to rearrange the content so that it's fresh. I don't mind giving away the ideas, but I don't want to give away content that's in my paid book for free other places, unless I'm giving away like a free chapter or sample or something. But guest posting on other blogs that are similar and where the audiences want to hear from you. So pitch a guest post, going on podcasts to talk about your topic. Those are fantastic free ways that'll just take your time. They're not going to take your money. Free ways to promote that book. So it's not just the paid thing. So you can, and you don't have to just promote it one time. That's the thing as well, is that if you're creating something that's more evergreen. So I do have to update my email book, but if you've bought it recently, hey, you're still going to learn things. There's some big updates like GDPR, and MailChimp went a little bit nuts this year and changed some of their things in a way that is not super helpful. And so I'm going to have to update some of those things, but overall the content's pretty evergreen. So I can promote that book. I promote it when it came out. I could promote it tomorrow. It's still the same thing. So it is a little bit different than fiction. Although, again, my fiction books, I can promote those anytime. But the thing with a book that is, nonfiction is that it can be kind of timeless. And if it's not timeless, then is a book the best format for it? Because I will tell you, email is pretty evergreen, but I put a lot of things in there that I have to update. And it's very frustrating to me to have to go back in there and update. But the reality is, these companies are always going to be changing their pricing. And, I'm going to put more notes in the books about that. But go check yourself. Because I do have people asking me what's the pricing? I'm like, go, look at the website. It's there for you. I don't know. I don't have it all memorized. I did at one time. But it keeps changing. So if you're not writing something that's evergreen, is a book the best place for it? Maybe, maybe there's another kind of content, maybe a blog post or something that you could update. I'm not saying you shouldn't write a book that it has to be evergreen, but it will frustrate you, and it may frustrate people if it's still for sale 3 years later and it's totally outdated. So writing books about social media can be super frustrating because it changes all the time, unless you're writing, about ideas about social media. So in short, publish your nonfiction book and then promote it. Yes, absolutely. And again, it's not that other people won't buy your other books, but it doesn't happen the same way that it does for fiction, typically for how-to books. They're going to buy it if they're interested in the topic. So make a list of other blogs and sites where you could write content that relates to your book, and ask if you're allowed to link to the book there. Ask to be on podcasts, because that's a really great way to go on and talk about your book and gain that expertise that you want. And then if you're trying to do something else, create a freebie that people can sign up for your email list that relates to that book. You can put it in the book. You can put it in all those guest posts if you have permission. Some people are okay with that, some are not. Just don't be smarmy about it. Be really genuine and honest and not gross. Give great value, and people tend to not complain. But again, ask first. You can talk about it on the podcast episodes that you go on as a guest. Share that free thing. So absolutely promote the book, even if you only have one nonfiction book. The sales look a little bit different. The promotional sites are going to look a little bit different, possibly, or how you run your ads. But there's a lot of great opportunities for free promotion and a lot of great things you can do to grow your email list, grow your expertise and authority through a nonfiction book. Boom. There's my part 2 answer. So yeah, this was episode 165. There are not show notes to this right now. At some point, I might make some more meaty blog posts and put them in there. But you've got all you need right here. You got it all right here. If you want to ask your questions for me to answer in these short summer episodes, you can go to creativewriting.com/community, or again, send me an email, Kirsten@creativewriting.com, or tag me on Twitter, Kiki Mojo. So far, I have gone a month without being put in Twitter jail for suspicious activity. thanks, Twitter, for finally figuring out I'm not a terrorist. Spoiler alert, I'm not a terrorist. Can I say that on a podcast? I did, and Twitter can't hear me, so they're not gonna flag me and take my account away again. But anyway, you can tag me on there. Okay, done. Nonfiction books, promote them, even if you just have one. Promote it creatively. There's tons of content that you can parse out from a nonfiction book to do great things and find free promo opportunities all over the internet. The end. Thank you guys so much for listening. Again, give me your questions, head over to the community. And if you want my weekly emails where I talk about resources, tips, tools, news, you can go to creativewriting.com/quickfix to get on those emails, which I tend to make brief and full of great information. I'm so glad you're listening, and thank you for Jasmine Commerce of JasmineCommerceMusic.com for the music for this show. It is lovely. Go check her out, buy some music, tell her thanks, and tell her that you heard her here. That's it for this week. Now go create content that you love and serve your people well.